Kathy Vick, Deeply Awake. And I want to come to you today because I think it's helpful for people to listen to an old soul talk about how they are experiencing energy. I think it's helpful. It's fascinating and it's fun. I don't come to the screen without being absolutely certain of my reality and knowing that it's a valid one and a helpful one. I mean, I like my reality. I like how I think. And I'm hoping that you have some fun with it too, because I'm going to entitle this Riding the Waves. I'm heading into republishing, transferring from lightworkers.org to my website, kathyvick.com. My, what I would term lovingly, my big-ass library. From 2012 to 2014, I wrote, everything I wrote is on Tumblr under Deeply Awake, and lightworkers.org houses my work under the blog section and the channeling section, and my name there is, my handle is Magartha, Magartha, for those who don't know. So anyway, I'm transferring all of the old stuff over, and I'm up to, I think, September of 2013. Oh my gosh. So as I'm doing this, I'm also reliving a bit some of the things that were going on and knowing what was to come. Get ready, girl. Just get ready, girl. And seeing the results of certain things that perhaps at the time I didn't think were important but turned out to be formative. It's really fun to do this review. And it hooks me up to the main event, which is to then go through each piece of work and categorize what's going on. Was it a visitation? Was it a meditation? Was it a vision? Was it changing or conjuring physical matter? Was it a sudden and unexpected and benevolent change in circumstance? Was it someone else's mind being changed, and as a result my reality changes? What's going on? I watched a really fascinating documentary, and the internet is down right now, and that's why I'm coming to, because I can't publish at the moment, but I wanted to create. It's on Netflix, and it's a story of a man who, well, he's a brother. He is not only visited by a different species of being, but deeply involved with their civilization. And in his life, that reality, his visitations, his work with aliens, I guess. I don't like that term, but that's what they call them. Intersects his real life, and his real life is completely magical and impossible to believe unless it was documented. And it's the documentation. It was a really beautifully done documentary, and it gave me some ideas as to how to categorize this stuff. I'm not the only one. Haven't I said that for quite some time? He gets phone calls, and he records them, and the ones who are protective and who help him call him starseed. It's so sweet. So I'm excited to see that story, and I'm certain I'll see others. And so here we are, just somehow knowing that we need to document this stuff along the way. Isn't that funny? It was really nice to see I wasn't the only one there. So, riding the waves is something that I have seen on the blogosphere, but also there's no other way to describe some of the energy. What I'm noticing is that I need to discuss expansion and contraction just a little bit in spiritual growth in this line of work, so to speak. You go through a big expansion. Something happens to you, and you're never the same. Don't tell me that hasn't happened to you. I'm not talking about a ritual like high school graduation, but it could be that. Sometimes it's in the ritual and the before and after aspect of a ritual that realizations are had, and prior to, during, and after the ritual. Those are really big moments. They're milestone moments in the physical. And there are some moments that you don't really realize are seminal. They'll completely, what happens now is what will change your future. What I'm noticing, though, as I look back, is that it's a series of choices. It's not just one. I mean, that's the sort of like talking about, yeah, I'm going to lose weight in the new year, and then you're good for a week, and then you're back to the old habits. Well, there's something inside of you that insists on doing it a different way and actually changing your body shape. It ain't going to happen. The outside does not command the inside. The inside commands the outside. And anybody who's gone through a failed ritual like marriage knows this. Anyway. Wave riding is, I think, akin to riding the tops of these expansions and contractions. Expansions, when you're changed. Or maybe you just see a sunset that just, you realize in that moment, a new kind of peace. Well, that peace can never elude you again. And sure, if the love that you get, you see as only valid unless it's coming from the outside, and something's funky with that love, then your insides might be funky, you know? Part of this wave riding is moving from the outside to the inside and realizing then that there's a rhythm all its own, becoming more self-aware and intuitive. Expansions are wonderful things, and when I think of them, the best way to think of them is, let's say it's a balloon that it's a magical balloon because it's in plaster, but it can grow. All right. The only time that it will grow is when the owner of that particular balloon puts their lips to the doodad and blows. That's the only time. But then magically, it'll grow. So you blow on the balloon, it expands, and it sets. It can never be smaller again, ever. Okay? And what's this thing called? A contraction. Well, that's the paradox. I think there takes some time of moving energetically from one to another. You're changed in a second, all right? But it takes a while for this to catch up. And I'm convinced it has to do with the neurology. There's neurobiology that's actually going through physical changes with all of these energetic changes. With an expansion, what you experience is then a contraction. When I met the teachers, these spiritual teachers of mine in the 90s, I asked them about some of the physical symptoms that I had been having for a while. It was really hard for me to get interested in eating. I had weird eating habits, and I just really, it was changing. I wasn't really as interested or focused on physical stuff even. I felt tired a lot, and I just didn't feel right. And I kind of felt bummed, but yet I knew I was doing great. I was in a time of growth in my life. And they said, well, that's a contraction. And you've been in a contraction for about a year. Can you imagine going through an energetic contraction that lasts a year? Because right now, these contractions are lasting minutes, hours, a day or two, possibly. But it's important to mention contraction, because I think that as a group sometimes we will think, well, the goal is sweetness and light and harmony and unity and all that, right? That's sort of the peace on earth. I think we're all sort of hippie peaceniks in our heart of hearts, because we know it's possible for people to love each other and behave with respect toward each other. We all know this, and then we see what's going on, and it's distressing, because we know the truth of it. Well, the thing is that sometimes life isn't peaceful. Sometimes the inside isn't peaceful. Sometimes there's no peace to be found. Well, welcome to a contraction. It's not true. You know it's not true. But it certainly is old thinking, isn't it? I think so. It's kind of limiting and disempowering, and somehow needing the outside to validate the inside and all that. So, a contraction doesn't have to last long, but I think that they need to be felt. I don't think they cannot be felt. And so if you're feeling bummed, and yet you're known as a spiritualist, or you're known as the one who is in touch with spirits, whatever, and you have a really off day, and maybe you're even cranky. Maybe you say things that you regret later. That's weird. And then maybe you have to repair those things. That's work. Anyway, we all go through contractions because we all go through expansions. We all have good days and bad days. And I can tell you that the biggest byproduct of this work is that I went from having I don't know, maybe 70, 80% crap days, just feeling crap, just not liking people and not liking myself, and life will never go my way, and so often it didn't. About 80% of the time. And then maybe at the beginning it was 1% was good, but then it got 20%. That's enough to keep me going. Quickly, that percentage started changing. That ratio started shifting. And it was hard to believe at first. I kept thinking, well, the good stuff, the happy stuff, me feeling better, me being in accord and alignment and on purpose and all that stuff. Well, I kind of do that and make fun of it. And that's the shadow play, I guess. It went from being 80% feeling like crap to, I don't know, maybe I spend 5%, maybe 5% of my time is now spent in the crapper. I mean, it's brief. It's always purposeful. It's one way that I communicate with myself. I can pick other ways. But if you see a soul pattern, that in contraction you have certain thoughts, or you always go to certain places of feeling states that don't feel good, who's in charge here? Well, it used to feel like that darkness was, because it was bigger than me, and I could pierce it. I could give it a black eye now and then, but it always came back for me. It really wasn't until this summer that I realized it was different, and it was going to be standing down now. That had very little to do with what it wants. It has to do with how I've changed. So here I am still having contractions sometimes. But when I was talking to my friend, I didn't personalize it as, oh yes, I'm going through a contraction because my energy was so expanded. I was so happy. And therefore I must feel sad. No. I think it's time to shift this. Sure. Go ahead and personalize the energy. That's what it's all about. You have certain palettes that you choose from when certain energies come around, all right? Or maybe you can think of certain energies as being certain palettes. As, here's the autumn palette, here's the... What I think is that in a heightened state or in a peaceful state, anything is available. When I'm really just there. And being there in the core, in the center, in the first layer, in accord. It's not a place of self-obsession with letting a few people in. It's really what Jesus had showed me in a meditation when I was trying to understand love. Because I'll share it with you. I found myself needing to understand a few things, and so I went into meditation, and I found myself a woman in the middle of two women. There were three of us, and we were walking along with clay urns. They were very tall, and they were light. You wouldn't think they would be light. But we were going to go fetch water. And these vessels were, from mid-calf to mid-torso in size and thin. Anyway, we were laughing and talking, and then all of a sudden I saw up ahead on the path, on that road, you couldn't miss him. I mean, I could feel him from way across. And I was hit with such, oh my God, such love. Not curiosity and not just, I somehow I just couldn't stand how much I loved this guy. And we kept walking, and I knew it was Jesus. And I knew a little bit about what was going on with them. And all I wanted to do was to be the one who tucked him in at night. For me to be the last person he looked at. The last thought he had at night. And I wanted to repeat that in the morning, and I wanted that to go on forever. And I was in so much pain because I couldn't. I knew I couldn't. And I was just really just impaled by that pain. And I asked for help. I shrieked it. It just someone, please, please, please. And there he was. It wasn't his body. He was visiting me. And he said, I will show you what your problem is if you'd like to see. And I said, yes. And I saw that energetically what I was doing was the female me, I was bending at the waist toward him. And I was feeding my energy to him and receiving it from him in this, 8. And I could see how that was, I've had it more explained about that, but that's all I saw, just that. And it was, and he said, now stand up. And I did, and I felt immediately better. And I saw this column of light that had been shooting at him it was now straight up and down. And he said this is the issue of the age. People are feeding their energy into each other. It's a problem. It's the agreement. It's the agreement. And you know how much pain it causes. And and I felt really good. But I said, okay, well, if this is the deal, if all we're going to do is just stand up like columns, then where's the love? I don't know if I like this. And then he said, observe. And because he was standing as a column too, and he went, and I could see how everyone was interconnected with everyone else through color and through, rays that were coming from them and to them. It was beautiful. They were still connected, in other words. And in a way, far more satisfyingly, because it was not a one-on-one thing. It was everyone was sharing everything. It was beautiful. So I thought that was really helpful, and I look at it now and realize that, I think when looking at the outside and the inside, that's a really helpful metaphor. And two, what I realized later was if you're in that position of geisha-ness or love that is perhaps not as mindful or as advanced or whatever, but just, codependent, then you can both be doing that. Imagine that. But if there's only one doing it, then that person's going to feel good depending on how this person feels. See how that works? So the energy goes in, swirls, comes out, and depending on how much they are in good feeling or good stead, kind of depends on your emotional state. See how that goes? Whereas, you're both standing up, you're both responsible for your own reality and your own feeling state, your own behavior, and you're looking at each other in absolute adoration and acceptance and fun and love and all that stuff. Which would you prefer? So, the thing is that I know there's a lot of people who might relate to this in some way or another, and it helps me a lot. When you're riding these energetic waves, I think what I'm getting at is if you can stay in your core as much as possible, and if that means having a little index card, if you're visual, just anything that is written down that you can use to center yourself, or something like this, or actually what's very helpful is to have a physical thing that you do, whether it's patting your heart, which I sometimes do, or holding my heart, tapping. Anything that is your agreement with your body that it's time to get back in your core. It's time to remember the truth. Enough time in the playground. Come on back home. And this can be very centering. From there, it's not so much about I'm having a personal contraction because of my agreements and my history and all this. I think it's easier to see it as simply energetic, like sine waves, as observed particles, as quantum energy that we're receiving and integrating. And that's available if you want it, if you've got the antenna for it. And I know that there are people who don't have that antenna. They have no intention of ever going near this stuff. And then those who are kind of interested but feel overwhelmed or feel, like I know more than they do or whatever. And then people who are like, can't you catch up? So there's all kinds here. And it's what I'm realizing is not only is free will in place, obviously, thankfully, in everyone's lives, but in everyone's consciousness. And everybody's allowed to be where they're at, obviously. But I really did have some power issues, and I did abuse power in that. When it comes to personal relationship, is very difficult when you're entangled. Your actual feet have got to go in the same direction. And so what I'm realizing for me is that I'm really back to articulating the hell yes philosophy. part of the reason that sometimes my life stalls is because I'm not saying hell yes to anything. I might be saying aw shit to stuff. Why? Why am I looking at the things that I've penciled into my reality, or someone else has penciled into my reality, and hold anything but interest and curiosity? Again, going back to the idea of why hold anxiety, but I wanted to further flesh it out. I think sometimes part of the fear of becoming, more in touch with the meditative side or the spiritual side is that there'll be a loss of control. What's real, what's not? What's, how far down the rabbit hole will I be able to go, and will I be able to handle it? And the truth is that you're being led. And the most important thing is to remember that it's important to walk with and toward the things that ring like a bell, that light up, that are correct and true for you. Then, when you look back, no matter the outcome, can you see how hard it is to really authentically hold remorse or regret for a lifetime? I mean, that's sort of what it's like. And then there are the things that are indeed just part of the structure. You can't avoid them. You can't talk yourself out of them. And what I'm realizing with those limitations, I used to think that part of this unity thing or the I don't know, self-awareness thing would be to be all things. And I think that speaks to the never wanting to limit myself and never wanting to say no. But what I'm seeing is that each of us are like our own jewel. And it's very important, I think, in these times to stand as your own jewel. To stand up and not be, this is not entanglement, that bending down. That's codependence, that's violence, that's, the basically service to self and service to other. Service to self, service to other, okay? It's that paradigm. This is something else. This is sovereignty for all. And some people don't get that. Well, okay. I think there'll probably be more of that splitting, and I'm wondering if part of the split of the new earth, if there is such a thing, is dimensional. Okay, if you are vibrating really super fast, are icky things still going to happen to you? Maybe. Are you going to question everything about yourself if an icky thing happens to you? Well, I would urge you to look at the word icky. Look at the feeling states that certain things evoke, and love it into awareness. Realize it's not an accident that it's in your consciousness. And for me, it's been a matter of realizing that this is part of my story. I can't live all storylines. I'm going to have to write about some of them. But I can, in this one, really commit. And I've talked about it before. But what I'm trying to get at is sometimes when you meet people who are really accepting of themselves, they understand their motives, and they're okay with their motives, even if sometimes they're messy and loud and whatever. In that kind of radical self-acceptance and self-trust, what becomes painfully clear is that we are each just just one flavor of ice cream, each of us. Distinct and unique, but only one. So, again, to compare your flavor to another, everyone has a flavor. To think that one's better than the other, well, why would you think that your flavor isn't the best in town? Huh? So, it can evoke a certain kind of loneliness if you're really, really, really deep in the old way of thinking. So, it just means breaking through engrams of what does it mean to belong? What does it mean to be partnered? What does it mean to connect? And I think the waves that we experience they're part of the collective. What I'm sensing now is, for the most part, being in a very expanded place. And then there are moments it's so spiky. And some of the experiences I have are really surprising because they're not pleasant, they're not nice. And it's like, wow, what is this? And how I describe it is microbursts. It's not like having to slog through the depression once again, find your way out once again. Not like that. Pray for a miracle yet again. But instead, I'm seeing it more like, okay, read the news or watch a program that you go, ew, ugh, I can't unwatch that. Whatever. Microburst. It's not real. I mean, it's real. But what I'm getting, oh my God, it's just like each person is their own experience, is their own universe. I am my own universe. And then how does one connect? That's the old question, I think, of the age. How do we do this unity thing? What we've done before isn't working. And then there are these new relationships popping up, this new way of communicating interpersonally, and a new sexuality. And so there's only good things happening, and there's going to continue to happen. So I would just leave you with those ideas of just the sense of core, sense of self, and of joy, and of being okay with just being one flavor, and just being the best flavor of you there is. And then when it comes to who's going to taste and who's going to eat and whose flavor are you going to eat and how are you going to go about it and where and for how long, all that stuff doesn't matter. It's time to be aware of the universe you are, I think. And I think that's partly because of the eclipse coming. And what I'm getting is a cute little thing. That's what I would say to leave. What I'm getting is that, maybe the new year shouldn't be celebrated arbitrarily on the 1st of January. Maybe the new year should begin at the first eclipse. I kind of like that it starts arbitrarily because it gives me some ramp-up time, because that's what this feels like. I've been going back to the old stuff regarding eclipses, and nothing artificial will remain. That one is really pretty intense and very helpful during eclipse times. So we have 9 days before this eclipse, and there'll always be another trigger, always, always, always. But as we move in to really the propulsion portion of these years, and really culmination portion of these years, if you use Cryon's reckoning, there's a 36-year window, and 2012 was the cleave. And in 2012, we only had 18 years left. Only. At the time, I literally sat down and cried when I heard that 18 more years of this. I can't do it. Nope. So, luckily, I'm now in a place where I couldn't say no to it. But, and I'm saying, oh, it's only how many years left? It's 18, so it's 6. That's 12 years left. Interesting. That's really interesting. So there's not a whole lot of time left to do what Cryon said we were doing, is planting seeds. But truly, this is a time, I think, for us to take our place. The ones who know what's going on, who can talk about wave riding and things like that, that's going to become more and more helpful. And I feel less and less weird about it. Isn't that great? I think so. It's my flavor. So, self-acceptance, self-acceptance, self-acceptance. And remaining as big as you can so that these waves don't knock you over, but instead feel like little bursts going off. I think part of it is knowing where you're standing, in the middle of the battlefield or not. So, lovely. It's been really great to sort of, it's been freeing this last few. And to end, I guess what I'd say, that what I am seeing with the eclipse coming up, really it is truly has to do with divine masculine and divine feminine balancing. We can't go forward without that. And the magnetics were positioned in such a way that there was an imbalance, and that was repositioned in 2016, and now we're going to anchor it in a way that couldn't have been anchored before. It's not about equality, it's about sovereignty and claiming the duality as yours. The polarity is simply your palette. But truly, with harm to none, rings out on the 31st. With harm to none. For me, personally, it is about masculine and feminine. It's about blue and red. It's about water, the feminine, where each of us come from, the ocean, and fire, the male, the masculine. So much of the power things that are going on in the government, in the bedroom, in the boardroom, at checkout lines, has to do with power that's been corrupted, sexuality that has been perverted, and I'm not one of those, the sexuality is perverted, but really not seeing the divine feminine, not taking the place that really is appropriate energetically for each of the genders, and there cannot be peace. There cannot be peace without this really, really, really basic thing. So that's how I'm going to be using the eclipse as physical proof that the magnetics can and will and are altered. And we have full functionality of each of the genders. All of the chakras are open and available to all from that eclipse forward, for all time. Selah. And that's different than the intentions I held last year. And really exciting to see the changes. I'm really excited for this year and for the remaining time we have in this heightened energy. So what'll be will be. All I know is today. I've been getting hit a lot with, well, Kathy, you know that this is all simultaneous. And it's entangled with worlds I know not of. So, live your best day. Smile. Be happy in your own skin. This is what I tell myself. This is what I'm told. Enjoy the things that bring you joy. Seek out the things that bring you peace. And do the things that bring you this joy and peace, even if you find them unpleasant or whatever. Enjoy that judgment as you do what it is that makes your life better. And what I've been doing now is I'm just so open to, I really believe that whatever is coming my way is mine. And I'm really open. I feel so unguarded and safe. And that's a really great feeling. And it's new. And it's solid enough that I can report it. And with that, I close. I have a few things I need to do. I'm very pleased to offer this to you, and great good tidings of joy and cheer. I'm very happy and very grateful, and at peace. And I hope that you are too. And if you're not, I hope that you understand that this state that I'm in pretty much all the time, I left breadcrumbs. So did a lot of people. But mine are, they're easy to find because they're all labeled. Each and every breadcrumb has got a little Deeply Awake by Kathy Vick on it. So, don't give up. Have fun. Have fun. Laugh. Find the things that make you laugh. Find things that make you feel like, oh no, I can't do this. This would be too cool. Do those things. And love yourself even if you're not. Even if you're doing things that make you feel crappy. Love yourself anyway. Love yourself any way. Any way at all. Find a way. It's important. It feels like it's like a connector. It's a way to go home. Alright, this is a long tape. I hope that you enjoy it. I think it's wonderful. And I hope that you enjoy riding the waves that are coming up. Because we're in for a few big ones. No tsunamis, but a few tidal ones. And I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready. Aren't you? Okay, thanks. Namaste.